Caller, you're live on the air. Do me a favor and cut down your radio, your TV, your YouTube, computer. Tell us your name, comment, and or question. 720, this is you. You're live on the air. What's up?
Hey, Ben. Michael Salamone here.
Michael, how's it going, my friend?
I must have a delay with watching you on the YouTube. Sorry about that. I wanted to talk a little bit about New York State voter suppression because I've been in the thick of it the last couple of days.
Tell me about it, man. Go for it.
So, I personally, personally have moved back to New York for a few months to take care of ailing grandparents and such, and re-registered to vote in New York. There was a error that the DMV submitted my registration twice to the Board of Elections, who then decided because it was there twice, they weren't going to register me at all. And I've been fighting that. Then we learned yesterday that my mother's voter registration had been changed from Democrat to Conservative.
Wow.
But today we were given the document, complete forgery. It seems to be almost photoshopped with something she would have done, but with wrong addresses, wrong information. And so thus we've been on the phone with the local Board of Elections, who's a democratically elected a Democrat commissioner, the state, and Bernie's campaign, Election Justice USA, all these organizations.
So
I can tell you
saw these documents yourself.
Experience with the Democratic Party on this local level, we're in a small rural county in New York State, is that they are not to be bothered by the people trying to exercise their right to vote. They want her to go to Buffalo, which is about 2 hours away, to meet with the judge tomorrow to sign an affidavit that it's not her signature and all this. And as for me, they won't even give me an appointment until I show up at their office tomorrow.
Wow.
They are trying to stop us from even using our right to the court-ordered vote.
Wow. So wait a minute. Let me make sure I heard you correctly on that. So even the court-ordered vote from the various lawsuits, federal lawsuits that took place today, they're still trying to stop you from giving even a provisional ballot tomorrow, or are you trying to get an actual ballot and they're stopping you from getting the actual ballot?
So according to the Sanders campaign, it's our right, if we do not feel comfortable filing a provisional ballot because they don't necessarily get counted, it's our right to seek a court order. And there's supposed to be a judge for every voting district throughout the state. Ours is not even within our county. The judge is 2 hours away in a different county in Buffalo, New York. Of course, they've already cut the voting hours from noon to 9 rather than 7 a.m. to 9, so we can't even do anything until noon. But they are trying to deny me that process, even though I have it in writing that it was clerical error on their part. And then, of course, my mother, who's got a fraudulent voter registration on her record that they've emailed her, will also have to travel 2 hours to stand up for her right to vote. And I am a plaintiff on the Election Justice USA suit. I did that weeks ago when I found out my problem happened, but we just got her signed up with them last night.
That's insane, man. That's insane. And I don't, here's the thing is like the momentum that takes place, even if you did a provisional ballot, right? A lot of people, those provisional ballots aren't even counted until late and after the fact, after the momentum of a victory has already been sealed. And that's one of the most nefarious things about this is that it's just enough. It's just enough to not only disenfranchise you because of systemic, we'll find out soon enough whether it's criminal activity or not, but then it's also enough to just depress the voter turnout in general. And that's what they're counting on. They're counting on a suppression of the energy and the motivation. And then you actually brought this up, and I didn't get a chance to talk about this. Polls normally open at 6 o'clock in the morning, now are not opening until 12 noon, when a lot of people get there before work because they know they could not possibly get there after work. And this is happening in your voting district as well.
Yep. Yeah, and they just announced it Thursday, I think, is when they said that they were going to change the hours, cut the hours.
on Thursday. So I have here New York City and Nassau, Suffolk, Westchester, Rockland, Orange, Putnam, and Erie counties all have their polls open 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Polls in all other New York counties are open from noon to 9 p.m. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 counties out of all the counties in New York are going to have regular hours, but everywhere else they just announced that it's going to be from noon to 9 p.m. So not only are your registrations being screwed up, the time that you can actually vote has been screwed up at the last second. And we're not supposed to think that this is systemic. We're so, this is all just, human error. That's what they want us to believe on this. Michael Salamone, I'll let you get the last word on that, man, because you brought this to my attention, I think about 2 weeks ago, at least 2 weeks ago. So tell us, what's your next move on that?
Well, they won't see me until noon, but I'm going to be camped out at the Board of Elections to get permission to drive 2 hours to see a judge who will hopefully look at what I have in writing, that an election poll worker made the choice not to register me, and then give me the right to vote. My mother will do similarly, other than she's a school teacher and has much bigger scheduling obligations than her artist son. So I just want to implore any New York people in your audience that maybe are still on the fence, or maybe just had stuff going on, and they weren't going to vote tomorrow. For all of us dealing with trouble, please get your family, your friends out there to the polls. Give some numbers to make up for those of us that are fighting for our right to participate tomorrow.
Michael Salamone, man, thanks so much for that call, man. And best of luck tomorrow, and keep me posted on how that turns out.
Will do, Ben. Thank you for everything you do.
Thanks, man. So, yeah, three different ways. I knew there was a third way, and it slipped my mind. So, number one, just straight out voter suppression by having your registration turned or changed at the last second. And then two, having your voting time changed at the last second in New York. Instead of 6 to 9, noon to 9. So you lose 6 hours of voting opportunity. And then last but not least, your actual physical locations have also been changed. I mean, and they want you to sit here and talk about whether or not throwing money at Hillary Clinton's motorcade in protest for the obscene money that she's raising is sexist. And you even have some Hillary Clinton supporters online who are, whether or not they're championing these changes, they are using these changes as a bragging point. As though, and this is, I don't know if this was the main point I want to make, because it's just so much going on that you can't make, this type of stuff is not just happening in the Democratic Party, but it's happening in the Democratic Party, and it's being okayed because it's happening in the Democratic Party. In other words, if we saw this type of behavior anywhere else, we would be up in arms, whether rhetorically, politically, or even physically. But because Democrats are doing this, all of a sudden we find a way to make it okay. And we find a way to excuse it and justify it. And to me, that's the part that is the most disturbing. The part that's most disturbing is that we are willing to undermine the very arguments that we've been making against Republicans for the last how many years? Citizens United has been something that we use to argue against the Republicans since 2000. What year was Citizens United? 2010, 2012, in there. We've been using that against the Republican Party and as a justification of why we should support Democrats, to put Democrats in office. And now we see Hillary Clinton it's a queen pin. If this type of behavior, any of it, had taken place in the Republican Party, we would have protest right now. You would have Hillary Clinton you would have Bill Clinton, you would have Barack Obama, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, the DNC. They would all be out there stomping the ground about how terrible this is. And everybody that you see on Twitter and on social media who are okaying and justifying this type of behavior, they would be right. So this is the big question, how in the hell will they be able to look you in the face in the general election or in 2010 and tell you that we should be upset at the Republican Party for these types of voter suppression, or be upset with the Republican Party because of the obscene amount of money that they're raising? How can they actually look you in the face and say this is something that you should be mad about when they are the perpetrators of it? And I'll add one on for me, because this is the thing that bothers me the most. How would they be able to look at us and say, something is racist, or something is sexist, or something is xenophobic, when they've used all of that to manipulate this entire election and to distract us from the real conversations that needed to have been had all along?